All right, let's get right into it. Today we're talking about something huge. Why you and your parents just can't seem to agree about money. It's a classic family argument, but the reason behind it is probably not what you think. And here's the kicker. It might just turn out that, in a way, you're both right.
I mean, come on, you can be honest. Do you ever see them doing something with their finances? Like maybe they're totally afraid of the stock market, or they give you a lecture every time you pull out your credit card, and you just think to yourself, are they living on a different planet? Yeah, it can be really, really frustrating.
But here is the core idea, the one thing I want you to take away from all this. And it might seem a little strange at first. No one is actually crazy. Not you, and nope, not your parents either. There's a powerful, almost invisible logic behind every single money decision they make. That's really the golden rule here. What seems totally irrational to you, well, it makes perfect sense to them based on the set of information they're working with. The whole trick is figuring out what that information actually is.
So, we can think of this as the personal lens effect. Just imagine that every one of us sees the financial world through a unique pair of glasses. But these lenses weren't made by some economist. They were forged in the heat of our own personal, lived experiences.
And this is where it gets kind of mind-blowing. This shows you just how powerful that personal lens is. Your entire lived experience with money, it's about 0.0000001% of all of economic history. It's a speck, a blip. But that tiny little sliver of life, it dictates something like 80% of how you think the entire world of money works. The gap between those two numbers is just staggering.
Okay, so let's see how this actually plays out in the real world. We're going to look at two different generations to really get a feel for how their histories create completely different financial realities.
So take a look here. On one side, you have an investor whose ideas were shaped back in the 1950s, a time when the stock market was flat for years and inflation was this monster chewing through savings. So for them, stocks are risky. Cash is safe. Now, on the other side, you've got someone who came into the market during the dot-com boom of the 1990s. For them, the market was just this incredible wealth machine. So their view, stocks are opportunity. The real risk is not investing at all.
And here's the really wild part. Both of these people can be incredibly smart. They can read the exact same finance books, look at the very same data, but it just doesn't matter. Their gut instinct, their core belief about what money is and what it does, was locked in by the world they grew up in. Their worldviews are worlds apart, simply because their histories are worlds apart.
So now let's connect all this back to you. Let's see how this history stuff is directly connected to those arguments you might be having over the dinner table right now. You see, this gap in history is exactly why you disagree. Your parent might have been shaped by a time of instability, so to them, using a credit card looks like playing with fire. But for you, who grew up with rewards points and digital banking, it's just a smart financial tool. They see you putting money in stocks and think you're basically at a casino. You see their huge emergency savings fund and think it's just losing value to inflation every day. See? Both are completely logical responses to two very different realities. And that brings us to what might be the biggest lesson of all. Real financial wisdom isn't about memorizing rules or finding the one right way to do things. It really starts the moment you have that light bulb realization that your truth about money, it's just your truth. It's not the truth. Your parents have their own and it's just as valid to them. So what can you actually do about it? Well, here are 3 phrases you can use that can totally change the conversation. Instead of just arguing your point, try starting with one of these. First, I understand that based on your experience. That validates them. Second, it makes total sense that you would see it that way. That acknowledges their logic. And third, that was a really smart way to handle money back then. That affirms their perspective. Then you can share your own view. Okay, let's bring this all home. Let's use one final metaphor that will hopefully help you see the whole picture a little more clearly. I want you to think of all of economic history, all of it, as the massive, unseen root system of a giant tree. It's the sturdy foundation for everything, the source of it all. And our individual beliefs, yours, mine, your parents', they're just all the different branches growing out from that same root system. One branch isn't better than another one. They just grew at different times, in different economic seasons, all reaching for the same sun. They are all ultimately part of the same tree. So I'll leave you with this question. Just for a second, forget about your parents' views. Think about your own.
What economic events in your life, a recession, a bull market, maybe the salary from your first job, what events have shaped your most unshakable beliefs about money? What is the history that defines your financial truth?